What is up, y'all? Welcome back to the YBO podcast, and also welcome to a brand new 6-part series where we'll take a look into working in the outdoor industry. If you're someone who is interested or curious about what it takes to work in the outdoors or the type of careers available, or even if you know of somebody like this will give a great insight into that industry. You'll get to hear from a few of us here at YBO who've had experience in this field, plus a few friends of ours who've now spent time working in some of these careers. This week, we have a very special guest, Mr. Jimmy Fisher. Jimmy has just completed his first season as a waterfowl hunting guide here in Kansas, and he talks about what an incredible experience it was and some of the biggest learning lessons from being a hunting guide. This is a fun one, and we hope you all enjoy. All right, what's up, everybody? Jimmy is with us today. Thanks for joining us.
Of course. Glad to be here.
So he is actually a hunting guide for an outfitter about an hour and a half from Wichita.
Hour and a half-ish, so
okay.
East Kansas, Fall River.
Yeah. So he's going to jump on here and tell us a little bit about that, but we'll start off with letting him introduce himself and kind of talk about how he got into hunting and all that and how it's inevitably gotten him into being a guide. So I'll let you kind of just take it over right here.
Yeah, so like you said, my name's Jimmy Fisher. I have been hunting for about 10 years. I grew up dove hunting with my family in East Texas, so I've been hunting for quite a while. But waterfowl primarily for about 10 years. And, you know, just doing what every, I would assume, younger waterfowl hunter does is, you know, banging the public land, you know, getting up at midnight to go drive out there, Cheyenne Bottoms and McPherson Valley wetlands, stuff like that. So grew up doing that and hunting quite a bit in that public land. And then just through connections that, you know, hunting provides for you, ended up meeting somebody through work, actually, that had a 10,000 acre cattle ranch, was in his family. Got to talking, got to spending some time out there, and just with the availability of the resources and the birds and they'd already been guiding, you know, whitetail deer out there for quite some time. So stars aligned, and, you know, I just was like, man, 10,000 acres of hunting permission sounds really, really nice. But it just kind of turned into a kind of a business venture, you know, being able to, you know, entertain people and share the passion of the outdoors, you know, with other people from, you know, all over the place. So it's been fun. It's been a I would say an educational experience. It's way different when you're setting up decoys for somebody else that's paying you, rather than, you know, just hunting for yourself. So it's been interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. So. And this was your first season doing it, correct?
Correct. So we had about 4 groups that came in. We had two groups from Louisiana, and then one from Iowa, and then one from Florida. So pretty decent spread in terms of, you know, the clients coming in, but it was kind of a tester year. We marketed really late in the season, or late before the season started, and it kind of turned into actually people saying, yeah, let's book. COVID really messed with some things in terms of hunters going up to Canada. So a lot of those guys that would go to Canada, their hunts were canceled. So that's why that Iowa group came in. So we got lucky, and it turned into an actual a pretty good year for us. So learned a lot and had a lot of fun. Shot quite a few birds. So yeah, that's what it's all about.
So this was your first year guiding, but this ranch's first year doing waterfowl altogether?
Yes. So it was the first year for waterfowl. But like I said, they've been doing whitetail deer for 20 plus years. So they had the cabins out there for the hunters to stay in. They knew the property. And like I said, it's a 10,000 acre working, fully operational cattle ranch. They've got feedlots out there. They've got, you know, cattle and pasture. So all the ranch hands have been out there, you know, for years, and they just kept saying, you know, we've got geese on this pond. We've got ducks on this pond, like 500 ducks on this pond, 1,000 geese out here. So I heard that, and I was like, yeah, we need to go out here. We need to check this place out. So it ended up being really, I mean, there's no food plots out there for birds. It's just all, you know, we're in between 2 lakes. So we're in between Toronto Lake and Fall River Lake. So it's just kind of I guess a recipe for success in terms of having birds moving through the area. So it's quite a special place. I mean, we've got the guys from Louisiana just couldn't believe that there were no food plots in the water. There was nothing out there. It was just birds would work. They would respond to calls. Like it's insane out there, and it's a lot of fun. It's a family that's really, they're all about the outdoors. They're about sharing that experience. And it goes to show they're hospitable. I mean, the meals that you eat are cooked from the mom that is out there. Like, she's the wife of the man who owns the ranch. It's the Han Ranch. And she's out there cooking meals for all the hunters, cleaning sheets, doing all that kind of stuff. The dad's sitting down at the dinner table with you after you hunt. So it's a very family type location. It's not we've got 25 hunters in at once, and you're kind of a number. I mean, we know exactly who you are. You know who the family is when you leave. So it's a pretty special place, and I've only been there for one season, and I'm this addicted to it. So.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds pretty sweet, and I mean, I know we were talking about it earlier of how many of these other ranches out there and just the immensity it takes to be like a hunting outfitter or a property. So I bet that's pretty cool to not come in an established place in terms of waterfowling, but to be a part of like being the founder of that, I guess, new legacy or whatever you want to call it.
It's pretty cool, and I mean, just it's cool, but at the same time, like you learn some hard lessons, like where you can ask somebody who's super experienced in it, or it's learning, the patterns of the birds and stuff like that. So it's been tough to go in there and, only being out there for a year, you can only scout so much, but when you've been out there for, 10, 15, 20 years of your life, like, what birds are going to do. So it's been fun to get everything going and, set places up and just watch those hunters succeed. And you're like, okay, I did that. Like, that was part of our group. Like, we set them on those birds, and that's what we did. So we had a little kid from Louisiana. He was, I say little kid, like I'm extremely old. He was 13 years old. So he was almost as tall as I was. But he ended up shooting. They'd never shot any geese before. Like, they've never seen geese work into a spread. They'd never seen geese, really, like, they've never hunted them. So they came down. They did a combo duck hunt. They shot quite a few ducks early in the hunts. And then towards the end, we were like, we're going to get you on some geese. So the 13-year-old kid ended up shooting a band. Like, never shot a goose before in his life.
Wow.
I've been hunting for 10 years, never shot a band, and this kid walks out and shoots a band. So that was pretty cool. Like, the group was all loving it, accents and all. Like, you could hardly understand what some of them were saying. They were so excited, but it was a fun time. Like, it was pretty cool seeing him shoot that band and watching that dude hold this, 20, 25-pound goose, and he can hardly hold it up with his both hands. So it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to see that. So
I'm sure there was probably a little bit of jealousy there of like you said, you got over a decade under your belt, and this kid first day bang, and you're like, come on, man.
I was sitting there and I saw him holding up this band, and I thought Matt, the other guy that owns his family owns the ranch, I thought he was messing with me because like they were real quiet about it at first. I just don't think I didn't think they put two and two together with the band. Like the guys from Louisiana, they obviously know what bands are, but when you're not used to holding the goose, like you're not holding the goose by their feet for the most part. Like you're holding them by the neck. You're not even checking for those bands. So I thought Matt was messing with me. I was like, no, seriously. Like somebody had to have just thrown this on here because they actually didn't see that it was on there until they brought it back to the house.
Wow.
Because the kid had shot this goose like alone by itself, and he was kind of like hoarding the goose to himself. He was like, nah, this is mine. And finally he holds it up and he's like, dude, there's a band on it. And I was like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was like, no. I've been out here multiple times early on, hadn't shot one. But, I mean, situations like that, it's just cool to watch. Like, and you go from being the guy that's competitive, that wants to shoot a band and all that, and then you just completely lose that attitude and you see this 13-year-old kid and his dad brought him in, called him out of school to go and be on this hunt for a couple days. And, they get to share that together and, they're taking that band with them and the certificate and stuff. So that's just stuff you don't get, on your day-to-day. So that was pretty cool to see.
I mean, that is pretty funny that it took you guys all the way up to the house to see that because I know whenever me and the guys go out, every single bird we shoot, whether I'm picking it up or anybody, I see every guy grab it and just kind of do a little quick glance, like, yeah.
But we, my buddies that I hunt with, I mean, every time we shoot a bird, it's no band. Like, that's literally what we say. Like, we're to that point. Actually, a few of my buddies, probably, 30 years of waterfowl experience all put together, and none of us have shot a band yet. So,
damn.
And I usually hold birds by the feet. Like, I don't know why. It's just, like, it's easier. I feel like I don't know. I've just always held birds by the feet. So, like, seeing them bring it all the way back up to the house and not have that band, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So, a lot of humbling experiences through waterfowl for sure.
Yeah.
So.
No, actually, just telling about the band stories. There's a YouTube video I saw a while back where this one guy, I guess he has on his duck call like necklace.
Yeah.
I guess he has a band that he keeps on there, and so they shot some birds. He goes over, and as he's retrieving, he's walking back up, and he's like, "Let's get it!" And he's showing all the guys up in the setup, and they're all like, "No way!" freaking out. And him and this other guy are like, "Yeah, got him."
Yeah,
they pulls it off, and they're all like, "Oh, you dick, you."
Yeah. There's usually a lot of Ducks Unlimited will give out like these little bronze bands that's like good luck in your 2021 season, and I've had that pulled on me a couple times. So like just young and naive, and these old men and the duck blind messing with me. But that's just it comes with the territory of waterfowl hunting.
Yeah.
So
I mean, hey, it makes memories though. Like, it's not about going out and just shooting as many birds as possible, but I mean, I know for me and the other YBO guys, we're not exactly most successful in goose hunting, but I mean, even with that, we still have some pretty epic memories. Yeah. We went to one freaking property where it got weird. There's this other group of guys on it. It was private property. A buddy of ours had been hunting it, and this other guy had been out there a couple times, but for whatever reason, he decided to blame us for everything. Was saying, "You're not even on the right property," and a whole never got physical, but a whole verbal fight broke out in the middle of the field. So we're all just standing around laughing, and didn't get a single bird that day, but we're all like, easily one of the most memorable hunts we've ever done, just from that. So
it's funny how that stuff works out. I mean, goose hunting's. I mean, anybody who's been doing it for a while, they'll just talk to you about the geese do whatever they want, and they're assholes. Just to be completely like, there's no other way to describe it. Like, geese are ridiculously frustrating. Like, you can do everything right. They can be in one area the night before, the morning before, and you go and set up there, and they're gone. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. So goose is fun when it's there, but I mean, it'll just break your heart sometimes. Yeah, like, it's like that girlfriend that just was toxic for you, that you just keep coming back to. So
I've never heard her put any better way from that. But so yeah, you how did you mention you got into this guiding? Did you say you knew like one of the guys who it's his family ranch or something, and you guys all kind of talked about it and got into it? Or
so for work, I work for a safety company, and what we'll do is we travel quite a bit, and I ended up going and doing some training classes for some Dodge City locations, and the guy that his family owns that ranch, I work with him, and so we were driving back and forth, and kind of just 4 hours there and back. It'll give you a lot of time to talk, and so we got to talking. And he said, "Hey, I've got a ranch out here," and he started talking about deer hunting, and I started talking about how much waterfowl hunting I've done, and showing him pictures, and that just kind of morphed into a, "Hey, you should come out here and check out these ponds." And I'm like, "Okay, well, we can do that kind of whenever." And he's like, "Well, it's like an hour and 20 minutes out." And so he just one day, without even telling me, he went out on a weekend, started taking pictures of all these ponds. And I'm like, "Dude, where's that at?" He's like, "This is our property." And I'm like, "There's no way." Like, seriously? He's like, "Yeah, this is our property." And I'm like, "Okay, well, let's go out there and check them out." So we ended up going around, and he's just driving me. It's every bit of 10,000 acres. We went out there, and I'm driving, or he's driving, and he's explaining and pointing to all these areas. He's like, "Yep, that's ours. Like, this is a watershed. Let me show you this place." And I mean, we probably drove around that property for 4 hours, and all he did was just open up gates, and we drive in, and there's a watershed. Like, there's this giant cattle pond that it's got vegetation in it and stuff like that. So it was crazy how it morphed. Like it was, just conversation, and then it turned into like, hey, we can actually do something like this. So I think it helps that there's whitetail out there and that there's turkey, so the family understands that part of it. So it was almost way too easy of a transition. Like we've already had the meals aspect, the lodging down. So it's crazy how it worked.
Yeah.
So hopefully it morphs into something a little bit bigger than it is now, but that's just because, who wouldn't want to do that for a living? So
I'm telling you. I mean, it sounds like you guys are already off to a good foot, but yeah, I asked because I know there's a lot of people out there that I'm sure that are wondering, damn, how do you get into this kind of profession? But it sounds like you just, over all the years of hunting, you've built up that resume, I guess, and then you just knew the right person and kind of got a lot of luck, it sounds like, for sure.
No, there was no skill involved in terms of getting this. I mean, obviously, just hunting for so long through personal experiences, but I mean, you've got these giant outfitters all over the country that, you can go and reach out to and, treat it more like a job. But, I think a lot of these lodges turned out just like what we're doing right now. Like, they're like, hey, what if we did this? Like, what if we, just charged? And obviously, some people have the issue of, charging for hunts and stuff like that. Like, I'm really into sharing that experience. One thing that we've done out at the ranch is that 13-year-old kid that came in, we don't charge for, the youth. Like, that's something that we just believe you should be able to share those moments and stuff like that with other people. And I think the hunting community is kind of getting away from that in certain aspects. But, bills have to be paid, families have to be taken care of. So it's just cool to be able to do something like this. And there's a huge market for it. I mean, this was COVID. This was probably the worst time to start something like this, and we had a decent turnout for the year. So it just goes to show that there's people that, just don't have access to stuff like this. And, in Louisiana, New York, stuff like that, Kansas is a hot spot for it. And we don't realize, hunting in Kansas for waterfowl, we don't realize how spoiled we are until you start talking to some of those dudes from, Florida and Texas and just the public land, the flyaway, bird pattern, stuff like that. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, I've lived in Texas for a few years, and telling people I was from Kansas, or even very recently I went down there, my Kansas license plate, a random dude at a Buc-ee's gas station, which I don't know if you've ever been to a Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody who is listening has been to Buc-ee's, what a beautiful place it was. I was getting gas, and this guy literally walks up to me, and he's like, yeah, you get some good pheasant hunting up there? And I'm like, yeah, pretty good. Actually, this last week, or yesterday, I had just gone at that time I was talking to him, and we just randomly started talking. He sees my Kansas license plate, and boom, conversation started. He's like, yeah, I actually, either he knew somebody or he tries to go, or comes up here every year to do some pheasant hunts and stuff like that. He's like, yeah, I love going there. And I think, growing up here, at times, all we see is how flat it is, and there's not much here. But then as you become an outdoorsman, which it was later in my teens when that happened for me, but once you start becoming an outdoorsman, you're like, Jesus, dude, we are spoiled here. Yeah. Hell, like in Texas, when I got my big old buck a while back, I sent it to some of my family down in Texas, and they're like, holy crap. Yeah. They're like, dude, that thing is amazing. Yeah. They're like, your does are 10 times bigger than our bucks and stuff like that. So, I mean, Kansas is a pretty special place. So
I think you just have to go outside, in order to figure out what's going on and just to see what it has to offer, because, I've seen so many small towns and so many, different places just from going hunting out in Kansas. So it is a pretty cool spot. It's a pretty cool place.
So, obviously you kind of got a near best case scenario of starting out in the guiding industry and with the group you started with, but what would you say is probably one of the toughest things you've learned from this whole experience, or what is something that you didn't quite expect coming into it?
So there's a lot. I mean, guiding is just like, it's a job, it's just like anything else. Like, you go to work one day and a customer says something to you, or we had a group that came in, and they ended up shooting between 3 days and I think 3 hunts. I think it was 3 days, 3 hunts, because they did so well in the mornings that they didn't end up hunting evenings. And they ended up shooting like 70 birds and 3 bands, and they were still like, yeah, I think we could have probably got on some more birds. And you're like, okay, I mean, I understand we didn't hit a limit, like we didn't hit a 6-man limit every day, but we got you on birds. Like, this is how it was. We can't like make birds fly in front of you. Like that's just the comes with the territory. But I guess just you're so passionate about that area, and you work so hard putting stuff up and doing that you can't satisfy everybody, and that was the hardest pill to swallow. But the other thing is like it's a physical job. Like when you're out there and you've got 4 of your other buddies and stuff like that setting decoys up with you, you're like, it's all right. And maybe sometimes you go to public land, you've got like a 700-yard hike to your spot, but it's just 2 of us. It's Matt and I that are doing everything. So we'll be out there, and it's 25 degrees, and we're out there throwing decoys out. It's a physically taxing jobs at times. Like, we're moving ice heaters out of the way, generators. Like, we ended up going and getting the truck stuck at like 3 o'clock in the morning trying to put decoys out, and we're about ready to call them like, hey guys, sorry about your hunt, but we're about 6 feet of water right now in the back end of the truck. So and then like there's been instances where it's pitch black outside, and I'll be sitting there and I hit a rock, stepping around in there, and I'm like a baby giraffe trying to walk around, staying on my feet. And I mean, I have dumped my waders multiple times out there. So, and that's what I think has been like the real catching me off guard type deal, is like, you're so tired because you're staying up, entertaining these guys, making sure they've got what they need, getting them settled into the lodge. And then you got to go out the next morning, at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you got 3 hours of sleep, and you got to put decoys out. And what you don't realize is that starts to take a little bit of a toll after like the 4th weekend, and you're trying to set or go through these rocky terrains like in the water, or you're kind of like moving through quicksand in the water, and you're like, man, this is tough. Like, so that's been the hardest part in terms of sucking the fun out of it, because everything you do as a just personally hunting, it's your hunt. Like, you're out there with your buddies, so sometimes it's that repetitive doing the same thing, but I feel like that comes with any job. But I'd rather dump my waders 50 times in one day than go and sit behind an accounting table all day. So
I mean, that's fair.
But it's been fun. Like, it's fun, but it comes with its frustrations for sure.
Yeah.
So.
And you're doing it technically part-time right now on top of a full-time job, right?
Yes. So I work a full-time job, and then I'll do it out on the weekends. So the ranch hands being out there 24/7 helps us with scouting. So we've got those guys, a case of Coors Light and some steak at the end of the day. That's all the payment they need. So we'll go out there. We'll have them scout for us, so we know where the birds are at. It's just the getting guys out there, entertaining them, and all that kind of stuff. So it really is. It's not just a hey, come out here and hunt. Like, it's an experience. Like, we want you to go out there and have a good time. So we're on the verge of building a new lodge out there. We'll be able to house 20 people in there at one time.
Wow.
And so that won't be necessarily. We like to keep it to 6 to 10 guys in one group, just because it's only 2 of us. So and then you mess with safety and making sure bird limits are at the right number and making sure they're separated. So we just like it on a little bit smaller of a scale, but that'll be to where we'll have deer hunters in the same lodge as duck hunters. So we think that'll be a really cool mixture of guys sharing different stories and just different people. All people from all over the country being able to come down, sit down, share a meal, and share stories of a hunt. So
I mean,
should be pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the idea of that dynamic, because I feel like if you go to a duck hunting ranch only, maybe you have different groups go out and everybody comes back. What'd you do? I got a limit on ducks. Sweet, me too. Okay, done on the stories, right?
Yeah.
But I think it would be cool if, like, you're walking back up to the lodge, you're just racked with birds, and there's a guy with a big ass buck right there too. Be like, time to talk about each other. That'd be cool.
It'll be cool for sure. We're looking forward to it, and then we'll be able to kind of spread out and take the workload off of his parents a little bit, so they can kind of enjoy what they're doing, and we can kind of take over that. I wouldn't say take over, but just relieve some stress. That way, their home is their home, and it's a little bit more of a luxury experience. It's not we just come out here and hunt birds and then we're done.
Yeah, so. Try to take a little of that stress off for them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you mentioned the lodge. You mentioned the other thing that you're the blind that you're going to be building on the pond. So what are some of the projects you guys are trying to do? Probably here in the off season to get ready for next year.
So what we're doing now, and we've been doing this. The hard part, the only another one of those difficulties, the only real I would say conflict or having conflicts and stuff like that with the deer hunting. If there's a buck moving through a certain area, I hate to say it, but we've got so many watersheds out on that property that the big buck, it takes priority. That's just, it's kind of how it is. It's like football and baseball, in my opinion. If there's a big buck on property, that's going to be, priority at that point. So we ended up having to hold that blind project throughout the season because throughout deer season, there was a big buck moving through the area that we were building that blind. And of course, they don't want us, turning impact drills and stuff like that with that buck around. So we've got the floor finished. The way it works is it's on this, I would say, 2-acre watershed, but it's got so much timber and cedar trees around it that it's almost got kind of I wouldn't say marsh, but it's got kind of a flooded timber look to it in certain areas. So it's packed with mallards all the time, and it's also got geese that'll move into it. So we set up this blind, basically just tucked it into some cedars. And we've got a whole floor going down on it, and it's already kind of halfway in the water, halfway up on the shore. So that'll be kind of our idea for that is that's going to be our luxury spot. It'll be out of the cold. You will not be cold in this thing. We'll have heaters running in this thing. We'll be able to cook breakfast in there. That's going to be that will be a once in a lifetime type hunt. If you're hunting like that on a normal basis, you got a silver spoon in your mouth for sure. So
you're spoiled.
But that'll be kind of our main project moving into once it gets warm and not -2 out. And then after that, we're going to really go through and kind of pinpoint where we want our hunting spots to be. And we're going to try to do some habitat management, some food plots, stuff like that. And then we'll bounce kind of into turkey season from there. So it'll be a busy summer for sure. We've got, I want to say, 6 to 8 groups already, putting down deposits for next season. So it'll be a fun summer, but at the same time, we've got some work to do.
Yeah, but hopefully that makes next season even better than this year, kind of thing. But,
for sure, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah. So looking down the line, is this what you're wanting to? Are you wanting to make this into a full-time profession at some point, or do you kind of like the idea of just keeping it as a side thing?
So as long as my wife isn't listening,
sorry,
I would
turn off right now.
I'd love to do this full-time. I was talking a little earlier ago about we were getting 6 to 3 hours of sleep every night, and then going and dumping waders and stuff like that. But I'd rather do that until I can't walk anymore than what I'm doing right now. Don't get me wrong, love my job right now, but just what you get to do and kind of the people you get to meet there is just, it's a once in a lifetime deal. So I'm definitely ultimately that would be amazing. But just from how this has started, I didn't think I'd be here at all. So it's tough to say, yep, we're gonna do this. This is how I'm gonna support a family, all that. But I'd love to have this be, this is what we do. This is what I'm gonna do 6 months out of the year. So that would be cool. That's definitely the dream for sure. So
yeah, sounds like it. Well, I think we're just about out of time. The final thing I will ask before we jump off of here is if anybody is listening that is interested to this kind of profession, being a hunting guide essentially, is there any key pieces of advice that you think are vital for them to know or might help them?
What I would do is you got to be a people person for sure. It's not for somebody who's just going to be real antisocial, because I think the misconception is I got to be the best hunter in the world to be a guide. I think that's completely false. I'm not the best waterfowl hunter in the world. I think it's just knowing where you're at, knowing how the birds work, and being good with people. I think if you can, entertain people and connect with different, social groups, I think it's a good spot for you. If you enjoy not being able to kill birds, like if you think you're going to go and hunt with these people every single time, like that's not for you. So it's completely different than going out and hunting with your buddies. Like this is, you're doing it all for them. You're out there just enjoying being outside. It's really, anybody can do it. I just think it's having those certain key traits. I think that's going to help you out. So, but by all means, just get outside, get outdoors, and just learn, whether it's deer, duck, goose, whatever. It's just being a student of the game almost, and just seeing what they do, what the patterns are, because there's guys that have been doing it for 60 years that still, say, man, just ducks being ducks, or just, geese being geese. So anybody can do it. It's just, getting out there and as many hours under your belt as you can get. That's what I'd recommend. So
putting in the work and being friendly as hell, essentially.
Pretty much. So, and being resistant to the cold is probably another little key tidbit. But.
I mean, hell, if we go out this weekend, we're going to put that one to test big time.
Exactly. Exactly. So.
Well, Jimmy, thank you for hopping on here, and thanks for talking about what you're going to do. Hopefully we can get you back on here in the near future, maybe to see how things are going, or, get updates on that or what have you. But
for sure.
And hopefully we can all get out there and do some hunts with you guys, because, dude, this place sounds awesome.
It's pretty cool. We'll definitely have to have y'all out there, and we'll kind of show you what we do. So
cool. All right, buddy. Well, we'll talk to you later.
I appreciate it, man.